DreAllDay.com.
What's going on, y'all? As we look at the Pacers versus Wizards game one, the Wizards go into Indiana and take game one, steal game one on the road, which is huge. The Wizards coming off a great dismantling of the Chicago Bulls in the first round, which is the opposite of what I thought would happen. I didn't think they would win that series, but they pretty much won it very handily in Chicago, a bunch of road wins to take that series. As far as the Pacers go, they were looking pretty bad against the Hawks, but they managed to recover and take game 6 on the road and kill the Hawks in game 7 at home. But overall, the Pacers are still trending downward. They have not been playing well over the last several weeks going back into the regular season. Roy Hibbert is in a complete funk right now. He only played about 15 minutes in game 1. Luis Scola played most of the crunch time minutes as the second big. Everybody else has pretty much been doing what they've been doing, but it still isn't enough for them to win. As far as the Wizards go, their backcourt of Beal and Wall is playing excellent right now. They're on a great run. Both of those guys giving you 40-plus minutes per game. Their whole starting five in game 1 played great. Ariza hitting the three-pointers, Gortat and Nene in the paint. And then you had Drew Gooden come off the bench and give you a double-double, which nobody expected, but that's how you went on the road in the playoffs. So let's take a look at some of the things that happened in game 1 and then talk about where I see things going for the rest of this series.
Talked about this before. When you try to go for steals, most of the time you don't get it. You give up a steal reaching for it, and look what happens, Paul George. Rarely do you see this happen. I talked about how David West carried the Pacers in game 6 and 7, especially game 6 against Atlanta. But a guy like Nene, so athletic when he wants to play, is tough. Goes right in and getting the ball to John Wall, who's a blur in transition, gets it to Trevor Ariza, who was feeling it in the first quarter. Wet. You know, remember back in the fall when people were saying Paul George was the second or third best player in the NBA? I haven't heard anybody say that in a long time. And here's Nene again, playing motivated defense the last few weeks for the Wizards. He has been huge. We know Lance Stephenson is a wild card who can score in bunches for any team, but here's the wild part of that wild card today. And anytime you got a big man running the floor with you in transition, you make sure you feed him. Man, Stevenson has the right idea here, attacking Bradley Beal off the bounce and getting into the paint, but Beal with the clean strip, then Gortat protecting the rim. With those two bigs playing like that, the Wizards are tough to beat. And when you got two long, athletic guards who can make plays like this on guys like Stevenson, you are a tough team. And Paul George found himself wide open after this moving screen by Roy Hibbert, but look what happens when your big men clean up for you, protecting that rim and erasing that layup. Something I said about the Wizards in an earlier review. When players like each other and like playing with each other, they clean up for each other. John Wall cleaning up here on a guy who's very tough in transition, Paul George. And the real problem for this Pacers team is they have an identity crisis. They don't really know what they want to do or who they want doing it. And that's when we end up with Lance Stephenson trying to do everything. You don't want him doing everything. You want him doing a little bit. Watch the Pacers on defense subsequently. John Wall beats his man, draws the help. Who's supposed to help the helper? That's Lance Stephenson's job. And let's watch the Pacers defense here. First of all, I don't think an alley-oop to George Hill was the play that Frank Vogel drew up. Now here's John Wall. He's going to get a screen here up top. He gets around George Hill, draws the help. Passes out to the corner. Lance is in position. Gets it to Gortat. Lance falls asleep on defense there, and just a lack of effort there, giving up a layup. His first few years in the league, this was a shot you wanted to give to John Wall. When he came back from his injury last season, he was making this, and now you can't give it to him. When you got a bunch of guys on your team, 4 starters who can create their own shot whenever they want on offense, and your 5th guy can hit every open shot the way Trevor Ariza has been, you're going to win games. Paul George is still clearly the best player on the Pacers, but he really has to take over and get the ball out of Lance's hands. At this point in the season, Paul George knows better than to help off of a shooter, and these are the type of shots you give up when you stop paying attention. I don't think this is the play the Pacers ran. I think they kind of just freestyle more like OKC, but they don't have that talent. But if Lance can make that, I guess you'll be happy. This is a great sequence by the Pacers defensively and offensively. First of all, as Beal goes around the screen, this steal right here is on Gortat. He let the ball go too early before his man, Andre Miller, could actually use the pick, which allowed C.J. Watson to reach in between them and get to the steal. Your defender should never be able to get in between the man getting the screen and the man setting the screen. So as Andre Miller drives his ball in, he gets into the paint, gets the ball to Marcin Gortat, who loses it temporarily, then throws up a fading hook shot, which he just should not have shot, and that was a bad shot. Gets the ball to Lance Stephenson, who is the man in this 5-man unit for them. And as you can see, nobody knows what he's going to do or what he's trying to do. But he makes a good play here. Draws 2 defenders, gets the ball to David West in his sweet spot, and you got a bucket. Now, that play you just saw Lance Stevenson make, first of all, Nene misses the shot. How does 4 guys down there for the Pacers and don't get that rebound? But then they happen to get it away from him again with the block by Mahinmi. Now, when Lance makes plays like the last one, you say, wow, Lance Stevenson should be an all-star. But then he does something like this and reminds you why he wasn't. Here's a matter of the Pacers just not trusting each other defensively, which is their strong suit. Brad Beal's going to get a high screen to the left by Nene here. Mahinmi does not step up and help. If he helps, which he should have, his rotation should have helped behind him, but he didn't help, and they end up giving up a bucket. Later in the quarter, the exact same play. Gets it to Nene. The help comes this time. They get it to Trevor Ariza. Good ball rotation. Bucket. One thing about this Wizards team is they share the ball. Nobody is trying to be the hero. Whoever's open gets the shot, and people pass up shots to get it to their teammates. Now, first of all, Nene here on the elbow. Ian Mahinmi, what the hell are you doing? You just going to stand there and let him shoot that shot? Have you watched any video on the guy? Did you read the scouting report? That is terrible. That's the kind of defense that gets people yanked out of games. But he's already replacing a guy who's been yanked, who's Roy Hibbert. So I guess there's nobody to take his place. And Mahinmi happens to redeem himself by setting a good screen, rolling to the basket, and finishing here on offense. Now here's a rare hero play by John Wall, who gets the screen, draws a defender, doesn't have his head up, tries to force up a bad step back on George Hill, sloppily gets the ball to Brad Beal, who cleans it all up with a 3. Can't underestimate good teamwork between these guys. Gortat shoots a fading hook shot here and it goes in off the glass. This is what happens when teams play. The Wizards ran wasn't too smooth of a play. Drew Gooden is in here for Nene, and as Gortat sets the screen, first for Beal, then again for John Wall, John Wall doesn't really have anyone open here. Again, Ian Mahinmi, what are you doing on defense? That's all that guy can do. Again, all you players asking me, how do you get steals? Watch Paul George at the top of the screen here. He thinks the pass is going to Beal. He gambles, leaves his man wide open. Those kind of plays on D get you pulled out of games, and he's their best player. This time, watch Lance Stevenson here at the bottom of the screen. First of all, his hands is on his knees. He's not alert on defense. Now watch this pocket pass to Gortat. That's your help, Lance Stevenson. Why are you standing there? Here's another play from the why Lance Stevenson wasn't an all-star highlight reel. He's never unalert on offense, only on defense. Turns the ball over, a sloppy turnover, gives up 2 free throws at the other end to a red-hot Trevor Ariza. Now here, George Hill. Remember that the Pacers actually traded Kawhi Leonard for George Hill? I think looking back, they might regret that. They might regret that move. But anyway, Hill gets it over to David West in his sweet spot. The Wizards have to respect it. Gets Lance an open shot, and he hits that. Even though he's not the workhorse he was in his All-Star days, the Pacers need to run more 2-man action between Paul George and David West. Nobody else needs to be touching the ball on offense. Now, David West is a great workhorse on offense for the Pacers, but he is just too small and not athletic enough to guard Nene when Nene wants to dominate him. And he draws him into the paint, gets it to Andre Miller. You leave any NBA guard open that long, he might just make the shot. All right, so Evan Turner's on Beal. Now, everybody remember when the Pacers traded for Evan Turner and everybody thought that meant the Eastern Conference race was over, but we won't talk about that now. Brad Beal is just a hell of a shot maker. Evan Turner ain't doing nothing about that. Again, Andre Miller gets the ball back over to Brad Beal. He's got Paul George on him. Roy Hibbert helping. And he ends up scoring anyway. These are the type of shots that Lance Stevenson wants to make, but just isn't making. John Wall was a #1 pick, and Nene and Gortat both have big contracts, but Bradley Beal has proven to be a hell of a shot maker and a hell of a scorer for this team, and his teammates give him the ball when he's hot. That matters. Let's get one more highlight of Lance Stevenson being Lance Stevenson. Please don't ever tell me this guy was snubbed to be an all-star. People don't make highlights of bad plays. And here's Brad Beal in transition, wide open. This game's pretty much over.
This series goes. This series, I think, is far from over. First of all, the Wizards are going to have to possibly win another game on the road in Indiana to get a stronger hold on this series, and they have to hold down their home court. When they played against the Bulls, they kind of blew Game 3, which could have put their foot on the Bulls' throat. They blew Game 3, but managed to come back and win Game 4 and then win Game 5 on the road. Hopefully, they can come out and win Game 2 again if they plan on winning this series. They have to go out and win Game 2 in Indiana and then win Game 3 at home. You can't win 2 on the road and then go blow your home court advantage that you just took by blowing games at home, which is what the Atlanta Hawks did in the first round against the Pacers. You don't want a Game 7 in Indiana. Game 7 on the road is a very tough game to win. Nobody wants that. But we only 1 game into the series, so I think the Wizards can definitely win if their backcourt keeps playing the way they do. They get consistent shooting from Ariza on the outside, and they're bigs, who I think right now, Nene and Gortat is the best big man combo in the Eastern Conference. If you look at the 4 teams who are left, they definitely got something on the Pacers. Then you look at Brooklyn, you look at the Heat. I think they do have the best big guy combo, and their backcourt's playing great. And that 3-man Ariza's shooting well. I think the Wizards got a real chance of making some serious noise in the East if they haven't already. As far as the Pacers go, first of all, they got to figure out what their big man rotation is going to be. David West has actually been pretty good. If you watch the Hawks series, David West was the guy who won them that series. He carried them in Game 6 in Atlanta. If it wasn't for him, the Hawks would have ended that series right there. As far as Hibbert goes, he's not playing well. He's playing terrible right now. Luis Scola is game to go out there and play, but he doesn't really have the physical capabilities of doing anything, especially against Gortat and Nene. Lance and Paul George and George Hill have been playing okay, but none of them has been playing excellent. I think they're a very beatable team right now, but again, the Wizards, who are inexperienced in this situation, at least as a group together, they got to put their foot on the Pacers' necks and win every game they got a chance to win. You blow a game in the playoffs, that could cost you the whole series, and we saw that in the first round with Atlanta. So let me know what you think is going to happen in this series. I picked the Wizards to win it in 6. Let me know what you think. Work on your game. Dre all day.
Work on your game.